Changing perspective, one woman at a time. Welcome. We're so glad you could be here today for the Mirror Movement. We are excited. We have Shelly Sutley with us today. Shelly is the founder of the Bluebird Experience and the Bluebird Restoration Project. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I understand that you often refer to yourself as a cheerleader. And I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about that and why that is.
Well, thank you for having me here, Angela. This is an honor. Empowering women, I think, is really important. And calling myself as a cheerleader to show the excitement in the community of what we can do when we come together. And I kind of got labeled as a cheerleader, even though I didn't make it in high school. And so now I can be one in my adult life. But it's exciting because I feel like there's something to share when we get outside and we embrace who we are and we connect with nature, and that's how the whole project came. So, and I needed an outlet to talk about it, and that was how Bluebird Experience came.
Perfect. So. Yay. Well, actually, part of the Mirror Movement's mission statement is one of my favorite quotes. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. And you obviously had to face some incredible odds, things that most people would just give up and call it quits. And I think you're an incredible inspiration to women everywhere. And can you just tell us a little bit about those odds and some of the things that you've had to face and overcome, and how you've gotten to where you are?
Sure. It's really been an incredible journey of learning about myself. And when you come from corporate America and you're wearing the stilettos and you're meeting the quotas, you feel really, really good about yourself because you are meeting the objectives. When you're faced with an illness, it brings you to a different place because you don't have the control. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and the vision of being in my stilettos and having corporate America and being in sales and marketing, it just seemed to vanish. And I thought, now that I'm in the chair, I've got a cane, I've got a brace on my leg, I need help with assistance helping me bathe and care for having other people have to care for me.
Right.
Really brings a humbling aspect to it, but it also can bring on a huge depression. Huge, because you have this image of yourself,
right,
and what you worked for.
Right.
All of a sudden now you're in a different place, and my story just came because I just prayed really hard. I know that each of us have a gift that God has given us, and as I laid there bedridden, thinking, okay, God, I don't know what else to do now. I really don't. And I prayed and just put it all out. I needed some guidance. And I took a nap after just the whole mourning and acceptance of where I was at. And during my nap, I just had this vision of the women from World War II wearing their aprons and serving. So it just came to me that here they're losing their sons, their husbands, their fathers, their brothers. But what did these women do? They got up every day, put their apron on, and served. And I felt at that moment, I just needed help to get out of bed, and I wobbled to where I had an apron that my mother gave me. So with my cane and everything, I thought, you know what, if those women from World War II, who are losing everything, can still get up and still look beautiful in their apron because they're serving, I can do it too.
Wow.
So I got up, put my apron on that my mother gave me when I first got married, and I tied those apron strings. And when I tied those apron strings, something like a magical motivation came, because it's only up to me. Your attitude, we talked about that, your mission statement.
Yes.
In 1 minute, you can change your attitude. And sometimes it takes so much depression and so much until kind of something happens where it's, okay, it is up to me. And I put on the apron that my mother gave me. When I tied the apron strings, and I just said a prayer, Lord, help me be the best woman I can be today. Because sometimes you are a housekeeper, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a neighbor, you're a girlfriend.
Everything.
And so you have to do it. So in my pajamas, with my cane, I put on my mother's apron that she'd given me, and I just prayed. It just became a mantra that, Lord, help me be the best woman I can be today. because that's all I could do. And I believed that if I kept trying and having a good attitude, something would change. And it's interesting because when you wear your apron throughout the day, you have to use the restroom. Well, you have to untie your apron. So you get to tie it again, and you get to pray again. So throughout the day, you're praying to yourself, and you are asking, you're thankful, you accept, and you're grateful for all your blessings. Mm-hmm. And you're thinking, why am I depressed? There's got to be something in me, and I've got to find it because I need to be the best woman I can be today, this moment.
And that brings, that's one of the things, too, that we talk a lot about the mirror movement, is becoming the best version of ourselves. So stop comparing ourselves to everybody else and be the best version of who we are.
Yeah.
But that's often much easier said than done. How do you get to that place where you can stop worrying about what everybody else is doing or thinking or comparing yourself and just focus on you?
I think that came with during my treatments at the hospital and being there and looking at everyone there, they are going through something.
Right.
They and their family really they've got something on their plate that's huge. And when you take a break and you look at everyone, and like let's say you go to a volleyball game.
Right.
Everyone the perception might be something, but what they're going through,
no one knows.
No one knows. So you can't put yourself up. I think the biggest thing is when you compare yourself to other people. And I got caught in comparing myself to my young 20s corporate America, and I had to stop because today is who I am.
Right.
Today, the blessings I have are wonderful, and today. So I think when you stop and just really think that every single person around us has something going on, and that's what life is. So we can't just be stuck in comparing ourselves. I wish that I had what that person has. We have no idea if they're even happy with what they have.
That's very true.
So it comes down to talking to yourself, self-talk. Because the biggest thing...
I have a nasty voice that goes through her, especially women, I think.
Yes, and it runs.
Constant.
Yes.
It's constant. It
so,
loops.
But it's up to us to stop it. Because it's not true. It's up to us to, when those mental things come, oh, you can't do this, or you shouldn't do this, or stop and go, wait a minute. Do I believe in it? Am I helping people? Am I helping? I feel so much better when I do something for someone else. And that's the Bluebird experience. This came from listening to a woman who was dying of cancer.
The Bluebird.
The Bluebird.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because you've got a blog that talks about the Bluebird experience, and you've also got the Bluebird Restoration Project. Yeah. So the Bluebird, how does the Bluebird come into all of this?
I moved here from Alaska.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I met a lady who was dying of breast cancer and leaving behind 3 daughters. Oh. And when we had some really profound conversations, because at that moment you know this person's dying. Right. And so we were a very candid friendship. It wasn't about how's the weather. It was, okay, what's really going on? Are you scared? Where are you at? And listening to my friend Sherry and really getting that, my MS, it isn't fun. It's scary, but my gosh, she's dying. I get to live, and these are the conversations we had. Well, she told me throughout her journey that she was going. I asked her how her last Valentine's Day was with her daughters, and she said this. She told me this was the last Valentine's Day. It was February 2007, and she just said, "I go, what's that feel like?" And she goes, "I just am grateful for this time, but my time will come when the Bluebird arrives." And I thought to myself, well, what the heck? You're going to turn on the TV and see Zippity-Doo-Dah, and here's, you're just going to be dead, Sherry? And she goes, no, Shelly, it's a real bird. So growing up, living all over, I thought the Bluebird was a cartoon, a virtual cartoon.
Sure.
Happy, okay, Sherry's going to pass away. Well, I had no idea that the bluebirds are the first birds that arrive in spring.
I did not know that.
So she was telling me, in a profound way, my time will come when the Bluebird arrives. I was taken back because it meant more than I ever imagined. And we were all Girl Scout moms, and our children were young, and we decided we needed to do a project with the Boy Scouts. It was a wood project. Sure. And we were going to make a treasure chest box. And my dear friend Zeta Ortiz says, well, to heck. I told her about Sherry and the story, because I went over to Zeta's house, and there was a Bluebird book by her statue of Mary. I went, what's up with the bluebirds? I told her, this lady just told me she's going to pass away. Well, when I told Zeta that, she said, we're not making a treasure chest box with these Boy Scouts because that'll just end up in someone's closet. We're going to make bluebird boxes. So that's how it all started. I just moved here. It was time to do a wood project. We decided to do bluebird boxes, and that was in April of 2007. On April 5th, the day that we had the event, where we were bringing all ages of children, elementary from Immaculate Conception in some of our neighborhood. Joe Knight was there and Dave Carlson, and it was exciting because we're restoring something for the birds, a place for them to live. Right. So this was exciting. I didn't even know how big this was just from this message of this woman. And so when she, we were getting ready for the Bluebird Project, it was April 5th, and I looked out my window and I saw a bluebird for the very first time. Oh, and here I've been reading a book, like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta figure out what project we're doing. So I looked out the window after all my reading, and it was the day of the event, and I saw a bluebird. Oh. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. The children were going to be arriving at any moment, and from school. Oh, it was just so exciting. And I called my friend Sherry and I called her. I said, "Oh my gosh!" Whoever answered the phone, I said, "It's Shelly. I saw my first bluebird." And I thought it was Sherry that answered the phone, and it was her sister, and said, "Shelly, haven't you heard?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "The ambulance is pulling into the driveway right now, and Sherry's coming home, and hospice is here." And she died 2 days later. So it really, really was a very magical, emotional, intense moment that I just couldn't believe it. When before the event, I went over and was just telling her, we're building 100 boxes because of you and because of her love of nature. We were in that rat race, minivans, running here, dropping them off to events, sitting on benches, watching them play. Well, we should be on exercise benches. We should be on exercise bikes instead of watching, the sports. We're doing all of that. And when I asked her about what it was like, what can I learn from you? And it's the rat race isn't important. It's the time with your children and sharing moments with them in nature, getting them outside, doing crafts, being with your child, not taking them everywhere and dropping them off. Right. So that was her thought during the 2 years that I knew her. And the Bluebird was about nature and getting outside. And that day I came back to my house after saying goodbye to Sherry, because we didn't know how much longer she had. And we had the event, and it was incredible. 100 boxes went out in the neighborhood around Eau Claire. 30 went to Hickory Hills Golf Course, which is where we. Yes, it's beautiful, and so this trail is in honor of Sherry Ross and her struggle with cancer, and so that really made me think that all of us have something that we're going through.
That's right. And
if we can connect our children that nature heals when we're outside, when we are caring for something. It heals us, and we don't even realize it until I'm supposed to be at physical therapy, but I'm at the golf course, and I see my doctors, and I'm like, look at this is my rehab. Because it really made a difference in my life, and that's how the Bluebird story started, and it has just grown. And but every week we take the children out and monitor the boxes. So it's a project that you put the boxes up, but you can't just put a box up. It is not just a wooden box. It is an experience. As you put the box up, you get to see the full life cycle of the nature, the building of the nest, the eggs, hatching eggs, and we record that data. We do. We are collaborating with Cornell Lab of Ornithology in New York. Okay. So we are the first city that really started incorporating this in the school system and with our local golf courses. So it has just grown since 2007 when it started. Cool. After I went to say goodbye to Sherry, I was being recorded, and they asked me to open up a nest box. Keep in mind, I've never opened up a nest box. I had read about it. Well, I'm on videotape being recorded, and I open up the nest box, and lo and behold, there was a nest in there. Oh. And that was the moment where it was, it was just like, if I got a message, if I don't do something with this, I'm going to miss out. Very. So it was really incredible. And that's how it started. And we started wearing the aprons throughout all this, because it's easy to keep your lip gloss and your cell phone.
Absolutely.
And then we wear them on the golf courses, and that helps us take care of our family and our children, because we have the Kleenexes or we have whatever the children need. And that's how it all bridged together.
That's wonderful. So tell me, who's been your biggest inspiration, do you think, to help you
through all this? My mother. Oh. Yeah, my mother, and I think my grandmothers, both of them. My grandmother, Mary, suffered with multiple sclerosis, so she was paralyzed from the neck down. Living with her, I saw what maybe the future holds. So that's where a lot of my depression and fear came from. But then I realized when I was going to doctor's appointments, I started getting dressed up for them, because it's an honor to have this medicine. So instead of going to a spa to get our nails done and massage, I felt like going to Mayo was my spa treatment, because I got to get something to help me feel better. So it just became a self-talk. I can do this, but if I keep putting my apron on and my lip gloss, and I would always tell the doctors, if I go there, I make sure I got my lip gloss on, because it keeps the perspective of we are women, and we are here to serve and care for our family, and to do that, we have to believe in ourselves, and we have to have respect for ourselves.
That's very true.
Really do.
That's very true. I mean, you have faced, there are a lot of people, myself included, who have challenges that are far less than what you've had to face.
But there's still issues, and you can't say which one's more.
Exactly.
Right. It's all real.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody has their own battle.
Yeah. And we're all trying. I mean, if we can look at each other and go, I want the best for her, and you send out that energy, it comes back.
That's so true.
I mean, it really is, because
true.
And I think, like, if you look at compared to high school, where it wasn't like that, women weren't, or girls don't try to.
Hard.
It is, but you look at your life now and what you've learned, and we each have a gift. We each have something to offer.
Right.
So take the time to learn what that person has to offer.
Self-awareness. Look at yourself. Absolutely.
Mindful. Be very mindful of where you're at. I just think it's great that you're doing this, because it is hard to empower yourself.
Absolutely.
And
it goes back to that constant loop in our heads. It's just that nasty little voice that's constantly cutting ourselves down and saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you look awful today, and all these crazy things.
But only we can.
Absolutely. The only ones that can change that. So, well, the Mirror Movement is really all about helping women everywhere change their perspective about themselves. What advice would you like to give women about how to change the way that they view themselves? What would you tell them? How do you make that change?
One thing I think is important is if you put your hand on your heart and you feel it beating, it is our obligation to live. We get to choose how we're going to live. So if I'm going to give advice, if you feel this heart beating and you can take control of your breath, you've got everything. And if you doubt yourself, your heart is beating and you're breathing, and this is a gift, and do something with it. Because when someone tells you to do something with it, it's really hard to understand that. But when you're thankful that you can breathe, and you're thankful that your heart is beating, you know that there's magic in you, and you have a gift. And I think it's important to use those gifts.
That all comes back to the attitude of gratitude. And you're familiar.
Yeah.
Have you watched The Secret? Read The Secret?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is about where we're at.
And absolutely.
And I think we lose sight of that.
Absolutely.
We really do. But as a community, when you look at Eau Claire, and being a military brat and living all over, and people come into your life for a moment, and then they're gone.
Right.
If you think about your conversations with people, and if they're positive, that's the lasting memory they're going to have of you. So every day you're out there, you never know if it's going to be the last time you ever see someone, but I hope it's positive. Definitely. That's how I look at myself. I hope I was positive today. Because
one day at a time.
It is. And just get your lip gloss on, because then you feel good.
See? That's all about the lip gloss. And the apron.
The apron, I love it. Apron, lip gloss. Oh, you got to have your pearls. Yes.
Now, you told me a little secret about the pearls earlier today.
Important.
I think you need to share that.
Do I? Okay. Well, I found myself cussing a lot.
Which I do a lot. Sorry, sadly.
And it's something that I thought, you know what? those women in World War II, I don't know if they had cuss words back then. I don't know what they were, but they sure looked glamorous in their aprons. But then when you look at the older pictures of my grandmothers and they had their pearls on, I thought, you know what? Women who wear pearls don't cuss.
I need to remember that. When I wear,
so you got your pearls.
Maybe that'll help me.
So
I don't know. I'm not confident that's going to work. But.
It's just a mindset. It's just like, you know what? Women who wear pearls don't cuss. So today I'm not going to. Sometimes I wear these when I have my pajamas on because you really feel like cussing. So you just, women who wear pearls don't cuss.
I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And I think once you have all these little mantras to yourself, it'll replace those negative ones.
Absolutely.
They don't belong there. And only you can control that. Nobody else can. Bluebird Experience is where we create, motivate, and inspire.
Mirror movement, changing perspective one woman at a time.